going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 283. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... sitting here on Super Bowl Sunday. Beautiful Austin, Texas, 13 days away from regular season soccer here in Austin. That is Ethan Finley Day on the countdown. And I won't ask you how you're doing because I know how you're doing. I think every single season have gotten sick by going to something Austin FC involved. And we got that quota out of the way early this year. Both of us came down with the flu this week. It has been terrible. So I guess I'll ask you, what's the update? Like, we're here, we're pushing through, the streak continues. We don't miss a week. Yeah. But that was not a fun week for you and I do know that.
This was a hellacious week. Whatever y'all do not catch this because it is absolutely brutal. I don't know if I've ever been this sick. Since Monday night, just on death's door, it felt like, and like at the tail end of this now where it's just like my body is just hacking up whatever is left of this plague inside of me. So hopefully about to turn the corner to start this new week. But yeah, it has been a very, very difficult, tumultuous, sick week for both of us. I know that. But do have some good news. This is something that you're not really privy to right now. I am in possession of a one-of-one piece of Austin FC fanhood history right now.
Okay.
And I see the look on your face. I can tell you're a little jealous, but I got good news for you. You will be getting one as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and show this right here. Shout out to Clayton, TJ's daughter. Thank you so much for the beautiful piece of art that you gave to me here.
Look at
I love it. I cherish it. We got an owl, we got a moon, and we got the world. So interpret that as you may, but I think it's good stuff for Austin FC. So shout out to Clayton for that. Thank you very much for the gift. I very much appreciate it. It lifted my spirits this week when I had a chance to look at it a little more. So the cutest fan in Austin FC did give that to me, so I very much appreciate that and just wanted to give a little shout out there.
Oh, there you go. Double shout out. That's awesome, man. And I am jealous for sure.
You're getting one. I got the insider knowledge.
Get my own one-of-one there?
Indeed.
Okay, nice. All right, so it is Super Bowl Sunday, man. So before we get into this, I know we did get some predictions from some of the guys. Micah, Irvin, Riley, and Ilya have the Seahawks. Only CJ Fodre is on the Patriots. Brendan Heinzike doesn't care. Damian Loss has the Bears. So that will further endear him to some of our listener base who we know are also Bears fans. And Dubersarski says, I don't know, bro. So all I know is I do not want the Patriots to win just because they've had enough for multiple lifetimes for my Patriot fan friends. Who do you got tonight?
I got the Seahawks.
Okay.
I think the Patriots should have lost to the Texans. If CJ just didn't lose his mind. I think they lose to the Broncos if Bo Nix doesn't break his ankle on a freak play in the matchup before they played in the AFC Championship game. But also, I hate the Patriots. I hate their entire organization. I'm glad Belichick got snubbed from the Hall of Fame. I'm glad Kraft didn't get in. I love all of that. So I'm a huge Patriots hater, and I definitely am pulling for the Seahawks here. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Seahawks. With my day job, I have to trust the DVOA, considering that is, I work for the company that has DVOA under the umbrella. So all those signs point to a close game, but a Seahawks victory. So I will take Seattle. and a longer than normal intro here, I think. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you're watching on the YouTube, right, you may see us muting, coughing here, hopefully silently as we go through this episode. As we always say, you can support the show financially for free by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get those pods. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel. It does help us grow the show. We would not do this spiel if it didn't actually help us out every single time. Hit the notification bell. You'll know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. Of course, you're in episode 283. Hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, and get 100% fully healthy before the season, like some of our most important players as well. Watch yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. And look, we're still in the preseason here, so we are still adding to the North End roster. Shout out to Jeremiah W. joining the list of designated Patreon members here, this preseason. So again, the roster grows. And we have, of course, the multiple tiers of Patreon subscriptions. And of course, our best ball tier and that designated Patreon tier get you access to the best ball pyramid tournament. And I just want to highlight to everybody, if you are thinking about, right, considering playing in the best ball tournament, the deadline to sign up is going to be this Friday, I think it's Friday the 13th. Yes. So do with that what you will. But because drafts will start Sunday night and run through Wednesday the 18th, we got to get everything set, by late Friday night, make sure everybody knows when their draft slot is. So you could see on the screen right now, we've navigated here to the northendpodcast.com. There is an article there that if you have been, again, thinking about joining, but don't really, don't know how to play, don't know what this entails, we've got an article on the website right now that explains everything about the tournament and all the detailed rules and everything like that. So hopefully that can answer any questions for anybody that's potentially on the fence there, And of course, everything else that comes along with the various Patreon membership tiers. That DP tier, right, gets everything that we offer. It's the annual merch drops, the giveaways, which includes that team signed ball that's sitting here right next to me, just out of reach. That's going to be given away on opening day. Access to that best ball tournament, the listener questions, and the like. Right? We have surprise giveaways, not just from us, but sometimes from members of the North End community, right? TJ Jonesy last weekend, right? Giving away those tickets to the Lexus Club. So we had our buddy Tex Rex and his family got Lexus Club tickets to the preseason friendly. They got access to that Q&A session with the club president, Andy Loughnane, and Rodolfo Burrell. So, right, additional benefits can also come from the Patreon subscriptions and the memberships here. And of course, if you are already a member of the Patreon, you don't need to be hearing this stuff from us. But if you are a member, we're going to have further communications about some other stuff that we're looking ahead to coming to your email inbox and the Discord this week. So keep an eye out for that. And if you are somebody that is not going to ever sign up for the North End Patreon, we will stop the extensive shilling as we get, or I would say slow it down. We're always going to mention it, right? But, we're still trying to add to the roster here. So if you want to sign up, the QR code right now is on the screen here if you're watching on the YouTube. And, of course, the link to sign up also in the description on YouTube and the audio episode if you are listening in that format. So still have some of those DP slots open, right? There is a handful left where you will get not just the free sticker, but also the free Sicko shirt. And the stickers I do have right here.
There we go.
Look, we got some big old stacks there. Just a little logo sticker there, but that's what all of our senior and DP members will be walking away with here in the preseason. So anything else for you before we finally get into episode 283?
Just big shout out to Jeremiah. Welcome to the club, man. Excited to see you in the Discord, and let's do it, baby.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Let's start, I don't think we talked about this last Sunday, right? Because we were coming back from the friendly on Sunday. We pre-recorded most of last weekend's episode on Saturday. And I think we forgot to mention that the new away kit, right? We talked about when that got, leaked, sanctioned by the club there, right? That was definitely a planned leak. So we saw what it looked like, but the release date is Tuesday, the 10th. So you're going to start seeing those new away kits. I believe they're calling it the Rooted in Austin kit, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure we'll get all that lore on Tuesday officially from the team, but you're going to start seeing those pop up around town with fans wearing them, seeing them on the store shelves. And it's always an exciting time of year when the new kit is coming out. And now also waiting for that third kit to drop or be leaked that we're expecting to get mid-season. So again, we're opening up those wallets here for the new kit, most likely.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to see what they look like in person. Obviously, we saw the leak and saw the drop and everything, and want to see what they look like. With the last ones we had, I thought that the names in particular on the back were a little hard to pick up on the TV screen. And I know that there was some a little bit of lack of clarity between the pictures of the two leaked kits, and I really couldn't tell exactly the color of that green. I had to see it in person, see what it looks like. Either way, I'll be getting my hands on one, and then I am very excited about the third one. I hope we do something really funky, really out with it. You know what I mean? We've done the roots, we've done the green leaf trees, and everything's been tree centric. So I want to see something a little funkier with this third kit. But either way, I will be getting my hands on one. Looking forward to rocking it at the Q.
All right, time for me to turn my annoying meter up to 11 just for a moment here, E, because we talked about the reckless speculation about how I put us 10 days ago on international slot trade watch in the Discord. We talked about it on last Sunday's episode, and then boom, Tuesday, wouldn't you know it, Austin FC agreed to trade a 2026 international roster slot to Real Salt Lake in exchange for $235K in 2026 GAM. And ZG was right again, all the way down to utilizing the new MLS rule as part of this trade. The international roster slot will return to Austin FC at the opening of the secondary transfer window in July. So this is pretty interesting to me because I think it signals, along with what we're going to talk about next, that Rodolfo Borrell expects not just some player personnel movement in that secondary transfer window this summer, but international player personnel movement this summer. And at the very least, he's clearly saying, I want that slot to come back, just so we have the flexibility. But we've seen him, I believe, each of the last 2 seasons sign players to what they call those pre-contracts, when those players internationally are within 6 months from the expiration of their guaranteed contract with their current club. Yeah. That is Mikel Dessler. That is Nicky Bolocco. Obviously, the latter didn't work out, but just trying to highlight the fact that we could have the club agreeing to deals with players internationally literally at this moment, and we won't know about it for months. So that's just, again, that's where my mind has gone after we saw this international roster slot indeed traded in the middle of last week. So the roster sheets at thenorthendpodcast.com updated here. You now have 1 international roster slot available, with that 8th one coming back in July. So your thoughts on this?
A+. A+ by you. Great call. Way to be on top of this. Absolutely. Your annoying meter, I don't know if it ever comes down from 11. Yours, unlike Spinal Tap, can probably go to 12 or 13. A+ move. Great. We're going to talk a little bit about the price tag on this international slot here and how the money is looking now with the new format the league has adopted here. My question is, you get this back, can you move it again? Is that within the rules? Okay. Absolutely. So potentially you could shift this again if there's not 2 potential players coming in that are going to need international slots, but love to see it. We know we're struggling in the GAM category, so to get anything to amplify that is good in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like we talked about last week, it does not come anywhere close to solving the GAM conundrum that we're in, that is going to take a sale either out of the league or a cash for in the league, or it could be a GAM trade in the league, but it's going to take a bigger chunk from a player moving outbound to put you on that path towards having GAM coffers that you can continuously pull from to make moves. Because we've got the 3 DPs, so 2-4 GAM is not how it's going to work this year. And you brought up, I think what people are calling GAMflation here, because these international roster slots, we talked about last year, the full season rate was between 200 and 250K. And I mentioned 235K for a half season rental here is what Roto brought back. If you look at what some of the other teams are selling these slots for now for the full season, it has almost doubled. Whew. So I think with the introduction of the cash for last season, this has infused greater amounts of GAM into the system here, into the MLS salary cap economy. And I think we're seeing, again, what people are calling GAMflation, where it is raising the price of these international slots because there's just more GAM to go around. And I don't think I have a take yet, at least, on whether I think that's a positive or a negative thing. But it certainly is working out in our favor in this moment.
Absolutely.
So the next thing I think that happened really that was notable this week as we waited for the team to go out there to the Coachella Valley Invitational was a rumor that popped up on Thursday. And this was, I believe it was Logan over at Verde Nation who first amplified this rumor, as he tends to do, I think he's got the most tentacles out there being able to pick up these international rumors. And this was coming from somebody who maybe there's something lost in translation in this Twitter bio. But this person appears to be officially connected to, and I'm going to butcher this name, of course, Trabzonspor in Turkey. And Trabzonspor apparently is one of the 4 big teams, the Giants, in the Turkish Super League. Alongside, and I recognize these 3 teams, Galatasaray, Besiktas, and Fenerbahce. So my first reaction to this was not only this is coming from an official team source, but there was also another player listed in this rumor, This Trabzonspor is going after Uzuni and or this other player. That read to me like a leverage play. So I didn't ignore it, It's on the radar, but I did not amplify that rumor through our channels. But then at 6:30 a.m. on Friday morning, Tom Bogert reports that these talks are real. And even more importantly, which made this extremely urgent in the Austin FC universe, that the transfer window closes in Turkey on Friday night. So when the Bogert tweet hits, there's then 8 hours, Because they're however many hours ahead of us here in the States. So there's 8 hours left to get these discussions done. Ultimately, nothing got done past the deadline. I want to say this was reports that were again amplified by Verde Nation that said that Myrto had agreed to personal terms, but that Austin's asking price was ultimately too high. So that tracks with Rodolfo Borrell's history here in Austin, and Myrto Uzuni remains an Austin FC player, at least for now. But I think certainly want to hear your thoughts on that kind of 36-hour saga we went on. But also I think we need to talk about, what does this mean for Uzuni's future here? What does it mean for what we can expect out of this summer transfer window?
For sure. I was also on board with you, or I wasn't paying too much attention to it until Bogert picked it up. Obviously, when Tommy Scoops picks something up, it perks my ears up, and we got to pay attention to it because he's that dude in that regard. So, I'm still of the mindset where I'm not looking to move Myrto at all costs, which in my book means moving him for a huge loss. And it looks like Roto is of that mindset as well. And when you look at the roster right now, the injuries that this team is facing, to stay afloat in this first half of the season, Myrto's going to be an important piece of that. CJ, his ascension last season, love to see it. He still has to grow. He can't be the only striker on the team, for Austin to be relevant in the first half of the season in a very talented Western Conference. Myrto is going to take up that 9 slot until BV gets back healthy, and then we're going to have to figure out how it's going to look with both of those guys. So I am more than fine to have Myrto here still. I don't want to take a big loss on him. And if you were doing this, I think you'd want to have something lined up. Obviously, we're 13 days away from opening up versus Minnesota, who obviously just added James Rodriguez. So we're going to be looking at a team that's, feeling a bit revitalized from when we were previewing them a little bit, and the disastrous kind of offseason they've had with the caliber of players that they've lost, the way that they've lost them, losing their head coach. In regard to moving it forward with Myrto, I still hold out hope that he is going to be able to figure this thing out. We've seen a bit of a learning curve for plenty of players in this league where they come over. The style of play is often very different to what they're used to. The way the game is refereed, I think, is very different to what a lot of players are used to. I go back to Johan Valencia and the way that he was being officiated and how he couldn't figure it out. And that's just one example. There's all kinds of other examples of players who need to figure out the way that this game is being officiated over here. The travel aspect of being over here, the demands of that. And I think that there's obviously enough talent for Myrto to push through a difficult season. Now, the mental side of it with Myrto, and we talked about with that rumor, him being on board with the personal side of it and like the agreement to the terms and everything, he has to get over that big hurdle, and that's going to take some solid performances out the gate. And I think that solid performances for him means seeing the ball going into the back of the net from his foot. I'm like, assist wise or playing well, being a part of the offense is going to be a great thing for him, but he needs to see the ball go into the back of the net. And we talked about the penalty kick aspect, and I don't really want to see him have his third shot at redemption there. I think he needs to earn it if we see ourselves into a situation where we have, 5 players lining up because we find ourselves in a PK spot. But Myrto's got to get over this mentally. And I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing right now for him mentally, where he has this on the table and Austin's kind of like, hey, this is not what we're willing to accept for him, because as we knew with his last stop, the team is escaping me now.
Granada.
They were holding him not hostage, but they were holding him from moving to other teams as well. And he took that pretty personally. So how Myrto is going to take this with a tumultuous end to his last season, and now not a very ceremonious start to this season with the injuries and everything being held out, is going to be up to him. But I still do hold out hope that his talent can shine through here. And without BV up until, mid-March, April, what have you, when he's back, Myrto is going to be an important cog in this offense. So I'm embracing Myrto being here, and I'm hoping that he can turn it around.
Well, and even once Brandon comes back, like, we're still going to need big things out of Uzuni, right? Up top in whatever role that is, whether it's out there next to Brandon or coming off the bench sometimes, who knows? But I do think, like, thinking ahead to the summer, and I guess before we talk about the summer, my reaction when I heard when Bogert tweeted that was, number one, I don't think it's likely that we're going to have another DP lined up for this. And that makes me think we're going to have a big struggle through the first half of the season. I did think also that, oh man, now we're actually just going to go 2-4. We're going to get that GAM. And now we have the GAM coffers that we needed. So, right, the sky wasn't falling for me, but I was going to be disappointed if that came to pass because of what it likely meant for us in terms of the results at the start of the 2025 season, right? Like, not that we think Myrto is carrying us to the top spot in the West, right? Not that is the make or break there. But it certainly wouldn't help us to not have Myrto Uzuni through the first half of the season.
Yeah.
But I think it raises my level of excitement for what's possible in July and August. Because if Myrto does have a successful first half of the season and does raise that asking price or does raise his level, right, in the eyes of clubs that are potentially scouting him, like, that's only a good thing for us. If he's if the report is true that he did agree to personal terms to leave here, clearly there's no, like, he's trying to get out of here. Yeah. Right. And I don't think it's something where he's like, now, like, shit, like, this sucks that I'm still here. But I just think it's again, if the reporting is accurate, then it's something he's definitely open to and would do if he had the opportunity. So all good, because if he goes out there and crushes it and then wants to leave, that serves all parties involved, right? Like, he can make good by playing really well here, make good with the fans, right? Make good with the team by raising his price to the level that we're going to be asking for on the open market. And then, of course, be happy taking his family back to Europe and play, like, being in a place where he wants to be, right? Not that he doesn't want to be here, but, I just, again, if the reporting is accurate, then that is indicative of him, being fine to leave Austin. So, again, with the international slot coming back from RSL in July, that's, again, another point towards the idea that Roto is trying to keep the maximum level of flexibility possible with the roster at present, headed into that post-World Cup secondary transfer window, because who knows who you can get after the big tournament, and with the longer secondary transfer window that aligns with the global calendar, right? First time in 20 years here in MLS. So this did, again, like, we know that this roster right now is, unless we see some, a guy bought down to a supplemental or a player added on a supplemental contract like a Jorge Alastue, that this roster is kind of raring to go. We're not expecting additions here with the 20 senior slots full. But again, like, the summer window is traditionally where people say, like, you can get the best players, right? Because it aligns with the end and the beginning, the true off season of the world's top leagues. So I just think there's just the level of intrigue, at least for me, is raised. And I think I've been dancing around that sentence here for a couple minutes. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about here with the Myrto rumor, maybe in conjunction with the international slot, or are you good to move on?
I mean, I'm just interested to see what our asking price is for him right now, because I don't see how you could not be taking a loss on this transaction. He's going to turn 31 in May, coming up here. Obviously, his counting stats last season were not anything that's going to be eye-popping. And, like, what could he be doing in the first half of this season that would take that value back to what you paid for him initially? And if he is doing that, I'm not sure I would want to get rid of him.
Right. Then you have another,
because then you're like, okay, he's cooking. He's figured this thing out. Let's see what this looks like now that we're going to be getting fully healthy around that time, with BV coming back, fingers crossed. Obviously other injuries will take place and happen throughout the course of this season. But I if you're moving them, you're taking a loss. And sometimes that's just how it's got to be. But I'm wishing Myrto the best, man. I hope he's in the right place mentally. That's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, and like I've said throughout the offseason, man, like I can separate my desire to, or my thoughts on how low probability I consider it that he reaches the level of expectation that we had for him at the start of last year, right? I can separate that from wanting to still see the guy. Like, how many times did I say on the show last year that I want Myrto Uzuni to be my favorite player so bad, because I respect the way he goes about his business, the way he approaches, by all accounts, and from what we can see as fans, that approaches every aspect of this job with 100% effort and intensity and care about what he's doing, right? It's not all about him, right? He's there. He talks about how, what he owes the fans. He talks about having good relationships with his teammates. And you see that in the content that the team puts out, whether it's on the practice field, doing those Lexus ads where he's riding around in the car with everybody, right? Like, the guy, he's clearly a good dude.
Yeah.
And it's good to have good dudes around. So let's move on, because we did not see Myrto Uzuni play in the Saturday preseason match, the first of 3 out there at the Coachella Valley Invitational here. It was streamed on the club's website. That was a Saturday afternoon against St. Louis City SC. And you look at the, pregame, the first thing that I noticed looking at the club's social media posts, specifically on their Instagram story, that we were not going to see Myrto, no Facu Torres, and then again, questionable about Mikel Dessler. He was not dressed out. He did not warm up. It didn't look like with the guys, nor did Owen Wolf. And so, like, Owen Wolf, not surprising.
Yeah.
Facu Torres and Myrto Uzuni both warmed up with the team, per sources that were there on the ground, but they did not have those Dillo shorts on that everybody else was wearing in warm-up. So that was the indication that these guys are not going to get minutes here today. And then Mikel Dessler, man, like, I'm worried at this point about his availability for opening day, and worried might be putting it nicely. Because this guy, I mean, he has been off injured since he's been here in Austin. And I know that Coach Nico, that is, has kind of downplayed his concern level about Mikel, but I know we're going to get into his backup here when we talk about, I know you've been on Johnny's ass about his performances over the last, few months here in Austin, at least in 2025. And we're just a better team when Dessler is out there and healthy. And dude, if we are less than 2 weeks away now and have seen no minutes from him, that doesn't mean he's not playing opening day, but I think starts are becoming a near impossibility for some of these guys. Yeah. And we can talk about them as we go here. And then, after we get through some of the highlights, or maybe lowlights is what you call them, from yesterday. But the injury situation does not seem to be getting that much better, or it's not getting better as quick as I would like it to as a fan.
Yeah, no, we are getting very, very close to this opening day kickoff. And, with Dessler, man, I can't remember when I said it, but he's going to be hurt this year. He's going to miss time this year. It just is what it is. He's been dealing with this soft tissue stuff since he arrived. I don't know about his tenure, where he was before he got here, but it's just part of the package with him. And, like, this team is considerably better when he starts. Yeah. And my concern level is very high as well, because I know who will be replacing him in that starting lineup if he's not ready to go. With Facu, man, that's a bit curious to me, because we figured he had to have been in shape with Palmeiras when he was over there, because they were in season. They were holding him out because obviously they were shopping him. And I'm a bit curious, especially with what the little tidbit we got for the preseason game 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I can't remember when it was, but at the Q, where they said, you could potentially see Torres' debut at the Q this today. And to not see him in this matchup as well was concerning. Obviously, we know Owen was not expecting that, but we are getting into crunch time here. And from what we saw not last night, but from this matchup, man, if this is ever the starting lineup for a game in the regular season, I don't think I'll watch. I think I'll just do the rewatch before the pod, because having to watch two iterations of that would probably be pretty frustrating for me. But let's get into this for sure.
Yeah, and I did want to note that I believe so. There was a rumor out of the Palmeiras side of things during those Torres negotiations that he had a thigh injury, right? Picked up a knock. Coach Esteves did say that he was dealing with a slight knock to his thigh when he came in, which lines up with that reporting. I was still like, he went right out there, did individual drills. Then you see him working with the DPs off to the side. Then you see him in these contact drills with the guys. So I was a little bit surprised we did not see him on Saturday. But here was the starting 11, and it was Stuver in net with the armband. Backline, Gallagher, Heinzike, Svatok, and Biru. Midfield of Sabovic, Danny, and Irvin Torres. And then you had, once again, Joseph Rosales on the left wing, Jaden Nelson on the right, with CJ up top. And again, like I mentioned, Noah Uzuni, Facu Torres, Dessler, Owen, or of course, Brandon Vasquez. And man, like I kind of want to go through, like, as I was watching the stream, I took a couple notes as I tend to do. And I know you watched the game on replay later Saturday night as well. So it starts off St. Louis on the front foot. I think they had 4 corners in the first 5 minutes. And I think it took until the 7th minute for Austin to possess the ball in the St. Louis half when Joseph Rosales won Austin's first corner kick. But the one note I did have from that first 10 minutes, this announcer, man, I'm not going to go in on somebody who is out there, right? This is not an official MLS announcer to my knowledge, right? Yeah. This is a guy, they got guys out there picking them, not off the street, but right, like you're hiring some freelance guys to go out there and stand up on those big scissor lifts that they have out there and commentate on these games. So I doubt this guy has a pronunciation guide in front of him, but this is a new one for Guilherme Biro. Guilherme. Yeah. And it's not the worst attempt we've heard out of an announcer, but it did make me chuckle. So going back to like kind of the more serious talk here, man, it was not a good start. Ugly. Aesthetically or on the stat sheet, man, you don't want to give up 4 or 5 corners in the first 5 fucking minutes.
Very, very ugly in possession. Hard to string 3 or 4 passes together for this team. And I understand this is a lineup that has seen, little to no time together. I get that, but we're professional soccer players here, boys. And to see St. Louis just look head and shoulders more prepared than us, more cohesive than us. And again, I don't want to overreact too much to this game.
Right. We're trying to not read too much into it, but we're watching the game.
Yeah. If you're looking at you've heard the starting lineup, you're looking at the starting 11. If you're watching here on YouTube, this is not ever going to be a choice 11 for us. God forbid. But it was really, really ugly, man. And like we're talking last night and I'm getting all riled up, and again, the overarching point was we don't want to overreact too much, but we can look at individual play and be like, hey, I don't think you're ready to go with 13 days left before the fucking season starts. And for the players who have been here for a considerable amount of time, your John Gallagher's, your Danny's, to look the way that they did was incredibly concerning to me. It was nice to hear some Austin FC fans kind of cheering dudes on in the stands and everything like that. It wasn't a sold out crowd. If only someone had warned the team for years about potential situations like this, we could have avoided it for sure. But St. Louis was on the front foot, dominating. I don't know if you want to, go through some, minutes here, but getting into that first goal, this turnover by Danny is fucking terrible. Yeah, like really, really bad. Danny also, in my book, did not look like himself in the first matchup where we saw him at the Q. He has not looked very good in this preseason.
Well, and so I agree with you, and especially watching it in the moment, it was multiple Fs by me sitting here by myself watching it, throwing my hands up. What are you doing? And so it was the 16th minute. It was off. Stuver had the ball. He puts it down himself and restarts it. And St. Louis, right, they've got a new head coach, right? So, like, they don't have the exact same system, but they were very much pressing Austin when they were playing out of the back. And it was a give-and-go attempt from Danny back to Besard Sabovic that got intercepted and touched on very quickly to Simon Betcher, who's just at that point wide open in front of Stuver, and he slots it home. But the thing that I thought about yesterday after a couple minutes had passed, if Danny had the flu 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And if you and I are sitting here knowing what we just went through over the last week, if he had, you would assume, the similar strain of the flu, I don't think I would be playing my best either right now. So again, like, it's not, I think I would imagine he would say himself that he could have done better in that moment. But I also would not be shocked if him being out for a week with this bullshit did hinder and is still hindering his fitness level, I would not be surprised at all. So I'm not going to hold that. Again, it's preseason. Everything's a little bit more loosey-goosey there. And again, he's not stupid. He knows that is a play that he's going to want back there. And I had one note before that 16th minute goal here, because I remember you kind of live texting me your reactions to your rewatch last night. Mm-hmm. And in the 13th minute, Austin got out on a break. Rosales took it off a St. Louis player, and he played it through towards CJ in behind, and CJ got taken down. There was no foul. I don't know if there was an advantage played or not. I couldn't see the official at the moment, but that ball squirted even further ahead right into the path of Jaden Nelson. So he gets on the ball, and as he gets into the 18, he backheels it to John Gallagher, who underlapped him. And the pass from Nelson to Galley was spot on. Mm-hmm. And John Gallagher, I think this is where you have here in the preseason renewed your animosity for John Gallagher's potential mishaps, because I had the same reaction as you. It seemed to me like he should have tried to one-time this shot at Roman Berkey, because Galley instead takes one touch to his left and shoots and doesn't get nearly enough on this one, and easily scooped up by the DP goalkeeper there, Roman Berkey. But man, this play made me excited. CJ's on his horse. They have to take him down. Mm-hmm. Jaden, as advertised in this moment, setting up his teammate, and John Gallagher just not finishing the play. And again, it's preseason. I'm going to reserve actual animosity for any of our guys to win everything counts. But you would like to see a better result there, even if it's not a goal, just the decision-making in that moment. And I know you were frustrated by it as well.
Yeah, and we know that Johnny comes from an offensive player background, which is kind of baffling to me, because plenty of times this game he's either underlapping or overlapping Jaden Nelson, gets the ball in his foot, and just does nothing with it. That's positive. I mean, there's a play, I can't remember if it's still in the first half, but he overlaps Nelson to the right. Nelson plays him on.
I remember what you're talking about.
He plays a ball so bad. It's such a poor ball. It leads to a St. Louis breakaway on the other side of the field. They should have scored.
I have it in my notes here. 33rd minute.
It was baffling to see these decisions by Johnny, and it's like, if we're gonna push him up, and again, it feels like I'm overreacting already, and I really don't want to fucking do that.
I know,
but like, this is what I watched last night. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I saw. And like, if we're gonna push him up the field, man, we can't just be passing the ball backwards to the other team and then be out of position with it.
Yeah.
And like, how many players have you seen Johnny take one-on-one where it's like, okay, he's about to beat you?
That's unless it's a foot race. Exactly. Like, breaking a guy down one-on-one has never been his game.
You can't do it. So I wasn't encouraged by Jaden. Again, still encouraged by Rosales. I thought Biru was fine in his role. Svati was fine. BHI has a really shit turnover as well. But if we're going to be this team that routinely is like, all right, we're going to try to set up this offense by going backwards with it a little bit, pull this defensive unit out of their shell, and then try to work you down the field to get some opportunities. Yeah. The possession just needs to be a little bit more crisp, and I do think that will come, particularly when we have our choice 11 out in the field, but with some more reps as well. But this was an ugly display.
Yeah, and I think, like, I have so many notes here that I knew we were not going to get to all of them because, again, we are reading probably entirely too much into this, but did want to talk about some of our takeaways, and I think specifically individually here. And that all of those fit into that. Like, it was, like I mentioned, that 33rd minute when you talked about the Gallagher turnover. That was a great, I think, diagonal ball from Irvin Torres over to Jaden on that right side.
Yes.
And then when they tried to combine with Gallagher, that pass from Johnny gets turned over. And that I skipped over another breakaway that was almost in on Stuver, where Alexander Svatok makes a crucial breakup of a pass attempt there, because if that pass gets through, man, Svati had committed to the guy on the ball, and that was Betcher in on Stuver again. So, and it was again on the Gallagher giveaway. It was Svatak again helping out Stuver there. And Stuve able to, and that's one thing, man, you talk about individual performances. The only guy that is in midseason form here is fucking Bradley Scott Stuver, man. Like that could have been 4-0 yesterday.
It easily could have been 4-0 yesterday. And yeah, that one breakup by Svatak was a direct result of the BHI really poor touch where he just gives it away right to St. Louis. And like, yes, they were pressing, but like that wasn't a full scale onslaught kind of press where we're all over your ass. What did you see formationally, right? Because I did see Rosales dropping back defensively and shifting Biru into like that third center back position.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't know if that was necessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're trying to play out of the back, you're getting pressed. That kind of clutters that a little bit more than I like to see, because now you have 5 guys there in such a tight space. It allows one player to guard 2 dudes at the same time, which kind of makes that press a bit more effective. And like the 1-2 combo work between Sabo and Danny is just it wasn't there last year. And it did not look that like that chemistry was there in the game yesterday as well.
Well, and I thought those 2 guys jump into Danny and Sabo there. I was not impressed defensively either. I thought they got sliced through in that midfield multiple times in the first half. In terms of Rosales, again, this is probably inaccurate because I am a relative soccer novice, but I thought at times it looked to me like Rosales was dropping back instinctually because he's been a left wing back for the majority of his MLS time here, right? So I don't know if that was instructive by the coaches or not. But that was kind of my interpretation of it. And let's kind of run through some of the second half notes here. At halftime, you get 3 changes. Ilie and Duber come in for Sabo and Danny in that midfield. And I think notable, armband goes from Stuver to Ilie. So number 6, I think still the captain when he's out there. And Djordjevic came in for Svatak on that back line. Again, I think more impressive Stuver saves. I'm not sure that Ilie and Duber-Sarski were any better defensively than Danny and Bessard were in that first half. I thought the defensive midfield, again, needs some work here. Because, again, St. Louis probably going to be an improved side this year, but still a team that I view 13 days out from the season as a team that is going to end up or should end up lower in the standings than us. And these teams we're playing this week, man, maybe we get some full 11s going against us, against Chicago or against Sporting next weekend. But St. Louis didn't have their choice 11 out there either. They had some newcomers out there too. So 62nd minute, you get a lot of subs here for us, and I think it was a 5-man switch. Jorge Alistue, Riley Thomas, John Bell, Jean Kolmanich, and Robert Taylor come in for Nelson, Irvin Torres, BHI, Rosales, and Biru. So this moved John Gallagher up to right wing, Taylor to left wing, Kolmanich to left back, Riley Thomas to right back. 76th minute, I did note, I hate him. Brad Stuver yelling at Brendan McSorley after McSorley got in his way on a restart. Literally sat there, gave him 5 or 6 seconds of one of these here. And I love to see that. And it was that also on that stoppage, I believe, where you got the final subs of the day for Austin was Mo Badawia and Vlad Danchutu coming on for Galley and CJ. So Galley and CJ playing 75 minutes in this one. And then my 2 notes to close this one out, man. 81st minute, Robert Taylor. Look, I'm just reading my notes here. Jesus fucking Christ. Because, dude, like, again, it's just not good enough in this moment, preseason or not. It's not instilling confidence in me that Robert Taylor's going to have an improved season when he gets a ball directly passed to his foot at the back by the St. Louis defender and takes one dribble forward, and we don't pass to a teammate, we don't shoot, and we let the defense recover. And then as we pull back to try to make a move around that defender that we allowed to catch up, then we lose the ball.
Yeah.
And luckily a teammate's there to pick it up, but like, it was just, it was again, a very small moment in the 90 minutes, but I was disappointed by it nonetheless. And then I was very surprised that John Kolmanich didn't get tossed out 2 minutes later because he does get a yellow here. John Kolmanich, it looked like live on the broadcast that he punches Conrad Vollum here. And I'm not, I know I sent you the clip and everything to get you ready for it. I'm not going to pull it up here because we can leave this to the dust of the 2026 preseason. But I tried to slow that down, dude, frame by frame. And to like give him the benefit of the doubt that it was just a poorly executed swim move. And dude, I do not see it. So I think Jean was lucky there that there was not more made about it by the official or the opposing team, because it at least it did not look good on the camera. And I know that the Cragnolas were out there at Coachella yesterday doing some coverage for Swoon Tower. So I'm definitely ready for that. But I know Mike was saying, man, it looked bad live. Like it looked like a punch.
It looked like a punch to me.
Crazy, man. Crazy stuff out there. And something about the first game at Coachella. Because the first game at Coachella last year was Fatak versus Fagundes.
That's right.
I don't know, man. Tensions are high, man. It's physical out there.
The Kolmanich thing was it was bad. I don't see how you could be trying to do a swim move here and just kind of crack this dude in the back of the head while he's not even looking, man.
Yeah.
All right, enough of the complaining session. Jorge Alistue continues to be a bright spot for this team in the preseason.
Yep.
He belongs out there. He is not afraid of the moment. He has this cheeky kind of moment with CJ where CJ heads one onto him. He tries to hit it with a little scorpion back kick kind of heel, which would have been super sexy. He did not pull it off, but he is engaged and ready to play every time he's called upon. And you can see that his level of engagement is just a bit higher than everyone else's right now.
Yeah.
And I think that is, of course, because he wants to work his way up into some sort of first team deal. I think he is worthy of that. We know that the green card situation is holding him back a little bit, but this is a dude I have been singing his praises since I saw him for the first time with Austin FC 2. And it was like, that's a player right there. Like he can do it. And we talked about the struggles of the midfield players, particularly Pep, Sabo. It extended to Ilya. It extended to Duber. A lot of hard fouls yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot of complaining yesterday from very demonstrative kind of complaining from him, you know. And you see Alistue in that midfield. Obviously, they're playing, you know, the defensive and offensive sides of that midfield. But Jorge continues to look very, very impressive. And, you know, if we can get some call-ups out of him, man, I'd be very, you know, satisfied with that. And I just want to really just try to highlight how much of an impression he's made on me this preseason thus far. So I'm continuing to look forward to his growth and his potential to find a way to get on this team. Brad, we can't even get this man a break during the preseason.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like we're asking him. He has
getting peppered.
2 kick saves that saved goals that were one on him, you know, that were absolutely impressive to keep this 1-0, because y'all, if you did not watch this, you did not catch this on the replay, this so easily is a 3-0 game. And that is solely on Brad that we kept this 1-0.
Yeah, so it was 1-0 as the final score there, as you see on the screen here on YouTube. Man, I think like what frustrated me about yesterday, like I'm not going to let myself be truly worried about the team until we see the team out there.
I'm worried.
It's still 5 fucking starters that have not played.
But that's not a good thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm more worried and or frustrated by the individual performances, right? And seeing guys that we think are either not playing up to the level of expectation that we have for them as the fans. Because again, dude, like the lack of goals, okay, like everybody who's out there is right at this level, but like it's not our starting offense out there. For sure. And I refuse to believe until I see Nico do some crazy shit like play Joseph Rosales at the left wing when everybody's healthy. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, right? Jaden Nelson, I think probably going to end up on the left wing. We'll see. But I just don't, the lack of goals does not concern me, but the way certain individual guys look, that does concern me and frustrate me 13 days out. Now, this is one of the more intense weeks of preseason. You're going to get 3 games in there. Everybody's going to get some more run out, right? And then you're into your regular season practice next week. And speaking of some of those guys who missed, apparently there was a media, I don't know if it was an availability or just quotes that the team gave out to their credentialed media. There's nothing that was publicly available here, but through our buddy Phil over there, Verde All Day, in his article this morning, apparently coach said that Myrto and Facu expected to play minutes on Wednesday against Chicago. Again, I'm worried that he did not mention Mikal Dessler's name in there. Yep. But small steps forward here, potentially seeing Myrto and Facu on Wednesday, which is a good sign. And that match will not be streamed, but we are scheduled to have a North End correspondent out there at Coachella Valley. So potentially we can bring you guys some crumbs from that one. So looking forward to hopefully helping, shed some light on what's going on out there Wednesday against Chicago. I believe that is a 1 p.m. Central kickoff once again.
My level of concern is growing a little bit every day. And
sure.
Yes, I understand the context. No Myrto, no Owen, no Dessler, no Facu, no BV. I get all of that. But like with 13 days remaining here, you want to be building towards something. And as you mentioned, you're going to be shocked if Joseph Rosales starts at left wing. We assume Jaden Nelson's going to be on the left, right? And now this is not building towards that. This is, hey, we got to go play a game. Let's put these guys out there wherever we can fit
plugging
them.
Holes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that is not building towards a continuity for a team that's going to come out sharp on day one for a franchise that has notoriously looked like dog shit the first game of the season more often than not. Obviously, the 2022 season, you set the fucking world on fire. But other than that, there have been some true stinkers to start the seasons for Austin. So my level of concern is growing with each day, and that is part of just getting healthy. I need to see Facu. I'm excited that we're going to have some boots on the ground to potentially get some crumbs on this game that's coming up here. But I am, we're getting close, man. And I want to be ready. I want this team to be ready to go on, February 21st.
21st, you got
21st.
It. 13 days away.
When that time comes. So, still not going to overreact. We will say that there'll be plenty of overreactions from you and I during the regular season. But, I'll tie the bow on this with some good things.
Okay.
Obviously, Bradley Scott Stuver still is who he is. Jorge Alistue, I think, looks really good. Jaden Nelson has that Buka level of speed that we require to take the top off of defenses. I think Joseph Rosales has been fine in his work, and there's a lot of other players that we need to get healthy to see what this team is going to look like come opening day. So I'll leave it at that.
I just realized on the YouTube, on the little scroll at the bottom, it said Real Slat Lake this entire time. So there you go. Damn. Almost 30 minutes on a, meaningless preseason match here. E, anything else for you on what happened yesterday?
No.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's Lost Business Day.
Last business day here on episode 283 of the North End podcast. And we had a flurry of player personnel movement for the second team here this week. First up on Tuesday, Austin FC announced that the club transferred Ruben Bonachera to União Esportiva Sant Andreu, and Austin FC 2 will retain an undisclosed sell-on fee should Bonachera be transferred again in the future. So the guy who started, I believe, the majority of games at left back for the second team last season sold on to, I believe that's the Spanish fourth division. Appreciate Ruben for his efforts here with the second team and best of luck. And then the next day, Austin FC2 signs defender Evan Watt. Watt is, I believe, a center back by trade. But Austin announcing a 2-year guaranteed deal for Evan Watt. So that's through the end of the 2027 season with an option for 2028. Evan Watt, 22 years old, originally from York, Pennsylvania, 2 seasons at LaSalle, 2 at Old Dominion in his collegiate career, 5 goals, 4 assists across 56 games in that 4-year career. And then he's been with English side Weymouth FC, where he made 9 appearances and scored 1 goal again there as a defender. So we welcome Evan Watt to the team. And then the team also signed both of the club's MLS Super Draft picks to Austin FC, 2 contracts here. Stefan Dobrahevich, of course, he is a forward, 2-year guaranteed deal, 27 season with an option for 28, and midfielder Patrick Kayeli. So all 3 additions joining on those 2+1 contracts here for the second team. So, man, you take a look at the roster sheets here at the northendpodcast.com for the second team. I think 2 things right now are true. I think that this roster is mostly, if not all the way done, considering the academy players we assume will continue to be on amateur agreements, some of those first team contracts that we assume will be loaned down and play, split their time between the first team and potentially the second team. And this team continues to get younger year over year in terms of those guys that are on those official next pro contracts. Jacobaro, currently the oldest at age 24 after Antonio Gomez was loaned. Everybody else 22 years old or younger in terms of those guys on the next pro contract. So 3 guys in, Ruben Bonachera out. And again, I think this roster is if not complete, nearing completion as the second team continues, I believe, through their preseason schedule. I don't think we talked about the preseason schedule on an episode yet, because all of these are always closed to the public. We don't even get, score lines from the second team's socials. So they have played, as of yesterday, 2 of their 5 preseason matches. That was Saturday, January 31st against Houston Christian. Then yesterday on the Saturday the 7th, they played their only road preseason match. That was against Dynados out there in Houston. So maybe the one result that I would actually like to know the scoreline from, just because we hate those guys so much. But 3 games left on the preseason slate for the second team. This Wednesday, February 11th, they will host Incarnate Word. Next Sunday, they will host St. Louis City 2. And then Sunday, February 22nd, they will host Corpus Christi FC in their preseason finale. So busy week for the second team. Anything for you on those activities?
Best of luck to Ruben, and I'm excited for these new players. I'm excited to see what this team looks like with the new coaching staff and everything. The mass turnover with a bunch of players, and to get back to the pitch, man. Love that spot.
Absolutely.
And if we could have essentially a boy factory.
The Boy Factory, hard work in the first team quality. Today's academy, can't you see? Tomorrow's Austin FC.
Nobody clip Boy Factory and use that.
We got to have a drop for everything here.
Man.
So I will shout out to Landon, who graciously allowed me to use
Cleared that
voice. Yes. In
Cleared.
the
Good.
Boy Factory drop here. And I imagine, just sitting there listening, to the drop here as we record, I imagine for some of the sickos who listen to multiple Austin FC podcasts that it was a trip to hear Landon Cottom's voice come on the North End podcast. So there you go. Talking the academy here, and this is a recap. This was a mistake on the graphic that the academy posted here. It says February 17th. I believe these games took place last weekend on February 1st, but it was a trio of games against the Dynamo Academy, starting with the U15s. This was an ugly one for the 15s, man. A 6-0 loss. So again, it seems like the U15s there for the Dynamo are a fairly strong opponent there. But you look at the upper echelons of the age groups here. The U16s go to Houston. Again, these were games on the road. 4-3 victory for the U16s. You get Roberto Monares opening the scoring for Austin there in the 10th minute. Clayton Glenn in the 55th minute. And then Rocco Viana, man, netting a brace 75th and 80th minute to secure the victory. You love to see that. And then you love to see this as well, because the U18s are the closest thing we've got to, right? Those guys going to the second team, those guys on their pathway to the potential first team. 5-1 victory from the U18s. Goals from Aiden Hale in the 15th minute. Andre Yeager in the 48th. David Romero in the 60th. Lucas Hernandez in the 82nd. And Nicolas Rojas in the 87th. And the Academy did highlight in their release about these games from last weekend that you got to think about how many of these U18 guys are spending training camp right now with Austin FC 2, right? We've got some Academy players like Mo Badawia. Mo may be on a second team deal at this point, but the point remains, man, that this was not the full weight of the U18 level for Austin, and to defeat the Dynamo U18s 5-1 is awesome. So all in all, man, a great weekend for the Academy last weekend. Keep it up, boys.
Absolutely keep it up. That's awesome. 5-1, thrashing.
All right, man. I think, over an hour here. I know both of us struggling to talk. Appreciate. Now I'm going to cough through the outro here. Appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us here. Talking a little bit slower, muting, couple edits in there. We had some coughing fits. So appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us here on this flu edition of the North End Podcast. Look, man, we are back next Sunday, and that means the Megapod, right? Yep. We are going to have a match preview for the first team. We are going to have over-unders. We are going to have the team points draft. We are going to have special guests. And, of course, we're going to recap everything that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. So, E, anything else for you before we shut it down?
Stay healthy, y'all. Don't get sick.
I second that. This flu is a bitch. So we appreciate you once again tuning in. We're back next Sunday with all of that stuff. The Megapod, the annual Megapod there, E. So enjoy your week, everybody. We will do the same, and we'll see you back here next weekend for another episode of the North End Podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.